Hi guys, welcome back to Learning Electronics Repair. Do you remember this? We had this a few weeks ago. It's a timer controller. It's used on swimming pools, so it controls some sort of feature of the swimming pool. I don't know whether it's like for a built-in jacuzzi or something else. So you can set effectively time 1 and time 2 here. This is the on time and the off time. It doesn't output any power, it switches a relay, so the relay switches the output on and off basically. And this was dead. There's a little power supply board that fits here, and this generates 12 or 24 volts. I'm not sure exactly which, but it is mentioned on the board somewhere, 12, 24 here, or something similar to that. The relay itself also is a 24 volt relay, so I'm pretty sure this generates 24 volts or thereabouts, and there's no voltage coming out of it, so the thing is dead. So we made a lot of resistance and continuity tests on here, component tests, diode mode and such like, and we proved that the circuit around this chip is okay. We have a data sheet I'll show you in a minute, and I'll also link the previous video as well if you want to catch up with where we were. But according to the data sheet, the circuit itself is okay, but I didn't actually take any live measurements on here, voltage measurements. I didn't power this up to do that, apart from the fact that the whole thing doesn't power up, it doesn't run, it doesn't blow fuses or anything, it just doesn't run. And I came to the decision, because everything tested okay, the next thing to do is to change the chip, but I didn't have any chips. Well, now I do. So I didn't just order one, I ordered 10 of these, partly because the guy who brought me this says he has several more of these or similar. I'm thinking, well, they've probably got the same power supplies in them, and maybe this is a common fault when we find it. And partly because they were inexpensive, and also partly because if I find a faulty chip on one device, I usually order several of them, keep them in stock, because the idea is that I'll probably find a faulty one again on something else. And if I don't, well, it's just stock. Okay, so that's where we're up to. So what we're going to do is we'll have a quick look at the data sheet again, and then we're going to power this up and see if we have the voltages we would expect around here. If we do have, then I'm going to change the chip and see if it works. So here is our little power supply. It's a very simple device. You can see we have AC mains coming in here. There's a bridge rectifier which charges this capacitor. This is a 400 volt, 400 volt capacitor. So this capacitor will charge to about 320 volts, which is the peak voltage of the AC. Okay, that chip, this actually drives the transformer. So this is the switch mode controller and built-in MOSFET. The resistor here, 1 of 5 or 1.5 ohm, that is a current sense resistor. I'll show you the data sheet in a minute. This is the output side of the transformer. We have a capacitor, the output capacitor. If we look on the other side of here, this is the output rectifier diode. Okay, we have a few more resistors and capacitors, diodes here. These two 564 are 560 kilo ohms. They're in series, so that's about 1.12 mega ohms, roughly speaking. That's a high value resistor. We have a few more resistors in here. We have a couple of diodes. Okay, this one is by a resistor and a capacitor. We have another capacitor here. So that's what we basically have if we look at the board. Now let's look at the data sheet. Now this is the data sheet, and this is a typical application. This is our chip OB2512. Now what we see here basically is what we've just seen on the board. So this is the bridge rectifier. This is your AC. Ours doesn't have the two capacitors and the inductor, it just has one capacitor. And this charges up to about 320 volts, as I mentioned. That provides power to the primary of the transformer, and also via these two resistors to a capacitor. These are those two 560k resistors you can see in series. So the high value resistors, they drop the voltage down and charge this capacitor. And this capacitor is connected to VDD. This is the voltage supply for this chip. So what should happen is that the capacitor will charge up, and at a certain point this chip will switch on. Once it switches on, you can see here it has a built-in MOSFET, and it connects this point here to ground with the MOSFET switching rapidly. Okay, that drives the transformer primary, and it induces voltage into the secondaries. This is one of the diodes we can see. This is called a snubber network. I think I did point it out to you. There was a resistor capacitor diode together. So that is just to remove high voltage spikes from here, the back EMF from the coil when the MOSFET switches off. I mentioned the low value resistor. That's this one, RS 1.5 ohms. This is the current sense. So this senses the current flowing through the MOSFET. We have two windings. This one is the output. I did show you it had a resistor, a capacitor, a diode. We could see that. And this is the auxiliary winding. So this one, via this diode, comes back to this capacitor. What's it for? Well, these high value resistors can provide enough voltage, or rather enough current, to get this started. But once this starts to run and it starts to draw current, the capacitor starts to discharge. And unless this winding starts to provide power via this diode back into the capacitor within maybe half a second or sometime like that, the voltage here will drop to the point where this switch is off again. At that point, depending on the chip, either the power will stay off, this won't run again until you unplug the mains and discharge this capacitor, or it may try again after a second or so, and you get this pulsing try again. And the idea of this is that if there's a problem over here, we don't get a supply voltage via this diode, so it doesn't keep running, it just shuts down. It's like a safety feature without any particular sensor required, okay? These two resistors, by the way, well, they measure the voltage here, and they give the feedback. So this sets the output voltage. This is how it monitors the output voltage. Those two resistors, the values of them, the ratio actually sets the output voltage. And the voltage here, which is monitored, regulates the output voltage. So that's what we have. When we tested this before, we tested the continuity of all the windings, we tested the diodes, the resistors, this capacitor, these resistors, this resistor. Everything was okay, it just doesn't run. But I didn't take any voltage readings, so I'm going to continue from where we were. My thoughts were, well, let's change this chip because everything seems okay. But let's, out of interest as much as anything else, let's monitor the voltage on here. And let's see what the circuit is actually doing before we change the chip. Always stay safe, guys, when you're working on this sort of stuff. Familiarity breeds contempt. So to make this safer, I'm going to tag wires on here for the main supply. I'm going to tag a wire, but not onto pin 1 of here. I'm just going to find the capacitor which it connects to. It's probably easier to solder the capacitor for my multimeter to measure the voltage. And where's the reference for my multimeter? Ground. Well, it's the negative end of this capacitor. Here, this is hot ground. Look, this connects via this bridge rectifier diode to the mains. There's no isolation to the mains. Although this is 0 volts for our reference, it's not 0 volts to your finger, okay? So I'm gonna, I'll probably just tag a wire onto it. That's the easiest thing with this. I think this is the capacitor which goes to pin 1 of that chip. Let's have a quick look. And the reason I think this is the capacitor, and I think this end is the VDD supply, is because That's the diode that comes from the auxiliary winding through a 4.7 ohm resistor. On our typical application, it showed the resistor the other side of the diode, but that's not that important. And that goes to this capacitor by the looks of it. So on ohms range from the diode to here, it reads 5 ohms on my meter to there. Okay, and then we said that one end of these high value resistors goes to the positive end of the capacitor. We can see the capacitor is here, so that's there, and the other end goes to the same capacitor that's charged via this diode, which is here. Yes, and it does. So without even trying to measure from pin 1 on this chip to here, which I can do, just by that more simple method, I can see it. I can easily get onto there, and I can get onto here, and this should read the 4.7 ohms. And it does, 5 ohms. So we know that circuit's okay. We know we can attach a wire to here. We can attach a ground wire to here, so we can then clip our meter onto those wires, and I can attach some wires here and apply the mains. So let's get that sorted. I've connected the wires up. The multimeter is on DC volts. You can see I have connected to the AC in. Not very good soldering, but it's just tagged on so I can see this is the negative end of the capacitor. This is the place where we get the VDD. I'm expecting to be about 15 volts here, something like that. Could vary anywhere from about 12 to about 20 or so, really depending on the type of chip. So we'll put the power on, and now let's have a look to see what we get. And we have 15.7 volts, and it's stable. So that chip should be running. Let's connect the oscilloscope. I'm not going to probe this because it's not isolated from the mains. Okay, I have an isolation transformer. I could probe it, but I'm just going to do this in the way that would be safe for you guys, okay? So a relatively safe way to do this is just to take your scope probe and just put it near the transformer when the power supply is running. And if it is running, we should see the high voltage spike. So we'll power this up again. You can see we have the supply. Let's just check this. Well, I have something there. I'm not sure that's what I want to see. Let me just change the time base. Oh. Well, you know, it looks like our power supply is actually running. Just alter the scale a little bit. 100 millivolts per division. That to me tells me this power supply is actually running now without me changing the chip, like there's some other problem going on here that I missed, okay? Can you see that lot? And I'm not touching the thing, I'm just literally resting it against it. Try and trigger on this. Yeah, there you go. So it's running, it says about 220, 250 kilohertz. Switch the power off. And it's gone. Okay, so this power supply is actually working, although I had no output coming from it when I previously looked at it. What's on the output of it now? Well, let's see. So just measure across the output of the power supply. Should be able to get onto here. 24 volts. Oh, interesting. And yet the power light wasn't lighting up on here, this LED. I didn't have any output voltage. I was measuring from here to ground. If you see the other video, let's have a look. So just on ohms range. I haven't got a short on this board, have I? No. There's no short there. In fact, it reads a very high resistance. Well, we know there's 24 volts coming out of our power supply. So what I think I'll do is I'll connect my bench power supply to this, put 24 volts here, and let's see what happens. I've attached 2 wires, so the red is the positive. I have my bench power supply set to 24 volts. Let's just clip the power leads on and let's see what happens with this. Well, the light comes on, and this didn't come on before. This did not light up. I'll show you the part 1. So it's drawing 20 milliamps, nothing much. So why is that power supply started to work? I mean, that's what appears to have happened. This capacitor is discharged, by the way. I did this off the camera, so it is discharged. So I've soldered the wires on here. I mean, I can't see possibly I've got a bad connection from that to where it solders to the board. There's some problem on here where the power's coming in. Let's have a look. We'll go to continuity range. This is the mains in. And it goes to there. And this goes to there. So, I mean, there's nothing there to show us a problem. I'm going to have to solder this power supply back in and see if it still works. I just don't really quite get that, but that is what the evidence is telling me. As I can't see any reason why this is now apparently working, and it wasn't before, I've decided just to tag a couple of wires from the power supply to here. It's just so that I can test it in this position. It's easier to work on. If for some reason it doesn't work now, there's no short circuit there across the power, so let's give this a go. Okay, and it powers up. Well, I'll solder the board back in, but I'm confident enough this will work. I mean, everything's fine there, so why did this not work before? And you guys saw that on the first video, but it works now. But I haven't done anything, basically. Some repairs are just inexplicable. I mean, Richard's magic fingers, but what's going on here? Okay, I've soldered the board back in. I need to put the heat shrink over it, but let's just see what happens. Yep, definitely working. Okay guys, so go figure that one out in the comments below. Yeah, it's repaired, but how? Well, hope you enjoyed this anyway, and I look forward to seeing you all soon on another Learning Electronics Repair video. Ciao for now, guys.